Testing. Okay. I like it now. I feel like we
it's good, right?
We got a good spot.
Don't move.
All right, I'll just talk like this the whole time.
Do you want to introduce yourself? I'm
Yeah.
open to not introducing. I'm open to introducing.
My name is Helen, and I'm here to talk about growing up. And I don't know if that matches my name, but it's in between, hell, heaven and hell or whatever. Just kidding. I don't know what to say. I'm just talking.
Okay.
I'm just talking.
Don't worry about it. Okay, so yeah, we're here to talk about growth because I don't know about you, but I've been hearing a lot of people going through a lot of shit this year.
Mm-hmm.
I had an existential crisis, like, I want to say in the summer. So I don't know if you've ever had one of those. Have you?
Many, many.
Okay. Can you explain what you felt and like what went through your head?
I guess I felt it when I thought I was pursuing a passion that I really liked.
Yeah.
And everything just kind of blew up in my face. And I was like, well, I thought this was what I was going to be. And I started pursuing something else. And then I got like the imposter syndrome. And I started getting back into the law field. And I was like, maybe this isn't where I'm meant to be. And I guess that existential crisis came about this feeling of like, who am I? Do I belong here? Who the fuck am I hanging out with? And I just kind of really didn't feel like I was myself, but I just accepted it, and now I'm very confident. Maybe it's the 20s. I don't know. I want to say once I turned 30, I felt more confident with myself.
When did you have the existential crisis? Or if you said you had multiple, like around what ages?
Definitely. I guess the first time I experienced it was changing high schools. I first went to high school in East LA at Garfield High School, and then I transferred over to Alhambra where we met. And it just went from, like a school that was in tracks. We'd go like in for it was so overpopulated. We'd be in school for like a certain amount of time, like a few months in a row, and then take some time off and then go back in. And there was like track A, B, and C. And so I was used to that, and I would go to college in between the tracks. Like we'd be off track A off during winter semester, so I'd take winter classes because I was like, well, I'm not gonna fucking just sit around and not study or anything. And I told my mom, I was like, this isn't the way to like get a proper education. So I looked into how I can transfer into another high school, and Alhambra was just a bus stop away from where I grew up. So I filled out all the paperwork, and my mom was like, fuck it, let's do it. And I told my sister, I was like, yeah, we're not going to graduate from this high school. Like, let's try something different. So we transferred all to Alhambra, and that's, I feel, where my existential crisis came from. Not like, I guess crisis would be like super, and when you say crisis, it sounds like, scary, like, I mean, it was a culture shock because I came from a very Latino high school, and more on like just more Latinos. And then I come to Alhambra, it's like more Asians, and it's not a lot of Latinos. I mean, there was, but there wasn't. And just the way people behaved and the way people was a complete shocker, but it was for the better. I felt like, okay, this is cool. This is how high school should be, in comparison to like Garfield's just seeing fights or like people getting like, I was like, I don't see that as much. So that was my first one, I guess.
Yeah. At Alhambra, so what year did you go in? Which grade?
It was 2007, and it was my junior year.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it was, I'm sure, definitely a culture shock, but did you catch or see people that were trying to, like, I don't know, I guess, like, almost be like, the way I saw it is a lot, when I went to Alhambra, I saw a lot of people trying to be something that they weren't. So trying to be like hard, or trying to be like, even though they lived in Alhambra, and I felt like everyone felt like they were trying to prove something all the time.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see that. I guess I seen it in both places. I think it's part of finding yourself, and from that like teen years, preteen to like a teen. I think that's where we first start finding our identity, and it's like, do I want to be a little rocker, a little baller, or fucking a musician or a band geek? And yeah, I could see why some things felt forced, but I think that's when we were all like
Trying to
discovering,
figure it
yeah,
out.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. That's very mature of you that you wanted to go to a different high school and that you like took it upon yourself to do that.
I did, yeah, with the help of my mom, of course, but it was a decision that me and my little sister, I was like, we can't do this whole track thing. And it was kind of cool. I mean, I graduated with college units because I was taking college courses on the time off, but it didn't feel like an authentic high school experience. And yeah, moving to Alhambra was the best decision I ever
Yeah.
made for my sister and I.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you guys use somebody's address or did you guys actually moved?
No. So at the time, I'm not sure if they have it anymore, but if you were a good student and you had good grades, we just went to go from to Alhambra Unified School District and ask if we could have permission to go to school there
Okay.
with our same address and everything. And because we were good students, they were like, "Yeah, you guys can come here."
Oh,
So
that's cool. I had to use someone's address to go to Alhambra. My mom didn't want me to go to Franklin in
mhm.
Highland Park, so yeah, that was how I ended up at Alhambra.
Nice.
And I'm so glad that I went because I probably could have been like a completely different person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel that too.
And yeah, my mom's whole thing is that she didn't want me to get pregnant at a young age. So, because Franklin was known as like just a little more rowdy and stuff, because Highland Park was pretty ghetto at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, should I have said ghetto? I'm like always in between on how I use that word or when I use that word. Like, have you ever heard somebody say like, and they're not from the ghetto, they're from like a nice area, and they're just like, that's ghetto, and it's
Yeah.
like, who are you to say what's ghetto?
No, let's just say it. It's ghetto. Just kidding. Some things are ghetto, some things are not, and it's just the reality of life. And I think, I mean, that falls into that feeling of like growth, you know? We are in an era that I feel like everybody's walking on fucking eggshells.
True,
Everyone
true.
gets so offended for everything. And when when did that happen? Like, when did we transition into that? Oh my god, they're gonna get offended.
That's a good question, and also I think it's important because although I think it's important to keep people accountable, I also think it's important to not do the like overcorrecting of being sensitive in a way. Some of it contradicts like other things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So like I use this I think I use this example a lot too where it's like Latino people like to bash each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so like educated Latino people like to correct other Latino people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like overcorrecting to the point where now you're just being a dick because you're talking to people as if they're fucking idiots and you're talking to people as if they don't know.
Yeah.
And it's almost like contradictory to all of it because it's like you think you're helping people, but you're really not. You're kind of just doing the opposite in a way, and you're kind of like dividing people more and like hating people that are like you. So now everybody like wants to just like not like people that use the word Latinx because of all the people that are associated with using that word, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, even though I'm sure there are some people that are like really cool and like smart that use that word, but there's a lot of like assholes that also use that word too. So it's like now nobody should be using that word, I guess. It is what it is, but I guess that's what I mean is it's like overcorrecting in a way. It's like it's not necessary. Like, why do we need an X at the end of the word?
Honestly, I'm one of those people that I've fucking become a troll sometimes online, and I'm like, Latin X? Like, what the fuck? No. It's Spanish. We have feminine and masculine terms of like Latina and Latino. Doesn't mean I'm calling you a woman. It's just the fucking language. Like, why are we trying to change things? And that's where my thing comes from. Like, okay, it's progressive or whatever, but it's not really progressive because.
And also, is it necessary? Like, is it really like helping society? And is it really like, I don't know, taking action into what the work that needs to be done? I think there's just like other things that we need to worry about, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And I know that might sound arrogant, but I think it's true. Like, to like when you get to the bottom of everything, especially after this election, like I think there's just more important shit that people need to focus on and worry about and put their energy into rather than like correcting words and stuff.
No, yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that sparks that whole, circle back with how you started the conversation with like, some people are more educated, some people are not, and they want to show that they're educated and they want to correct other individuals just to like help them progress, but then some people get offended, and it's like, well, where's the fine line between helping and insulting?
True. Yeah, I agree. And also it's like, it takes people, you can be educated all you want, but if you don't have the like emotional bandwidth and like intelligence of how to speak to people, tone matters, and like how you speak to people matters. So maybe your intentions are good, but like, nobody's perfect, so people need to be aware of how they're speaking to people too. You might be on the right track, but maybe you're not saying it the right way that somebody could understand.
Yeah. And that, it kind of like reminded me of me in a sense, I work in law, so I can't really speak to people the way that I speak to my friends in the firm. I can't be like, it was so full, like what's going on, like I love it, that's how I like grew up speaking and stuff. But then I transition when I'm out like with my friends, I try to speak the way that I speak in the firm, and they'll be like, what the fuck, trying to talk all smarter than me and like bigger words. I'm like, no, it's just my vocabulary. And sometimes I think to myself, like, with that sense, like, am I being sensitive? Am I being compassionate if I lower my vocabulary or use like words to be able to communicate properly with them? And part of me sometimes feels like, maybe if I use these fucking words, bigger words, maybe they'll start using them too, And sometimes some friends like it. I'll use words they never, oh, what does that mean? And I'll like let them know, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool, that sounds cool. And then I later start conversing with them, and they'll be like, oh yeah, they'll integrate that word. I'm like, yeah, I made that difference. Or there'd be a different reaction with some other individuals. They'd be like, oh, you think you're too cool now? Like, you think you're better than us talking like that? It's like, nah. But in the end of the day, I think it all comes down to, well, how much do you want to grow? How much do you want to expand your vocabulary? Where do you want to take it? Do you want to keep it at a full level, or do you want to keep it at sir or madam level? I don't know.
Definitely. I like how you're like you're pushing the conversation back into growth, because I could get off topic easily, and this is helping me like steer it too. I agree that for people, I think it's hard to code switch.
Mm-hmm.
And then when, let's say, like your friends like see you like your other vocabulary like bleeding through or seeping through, like they like try to like make sure that where you're at in your place. You're not better, like don't even, and it's almost like some of those people find like they're like projecting shit too.
Mm-hmm.
In a way where they think like, oh, well, just because you're like using other words, like now you think you're better than me. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it happens to like a lot of people with their friends, with their family. And I'm not like gonna call anybody out right now, but but it's happened to me. Yeah. Where it's just like, why are you talking like that? And even for me, like I feel sometimes self-conscious when I'm in certain places and I'm like speaking the way I speak. I don't know. I get self-conscious of like how I'm using words, because like I like to like cuss a lot. So when I'm like talking amongst like other people that are maybe like more educated or just like in better positions in their life, like sometimes like I cut back on how much I cuss, and like I try to speak better.
No, I feel the exact same way. Even sometimes like when I'm at the firm, I'll be like, fuck. I'm like, oh shit, like, oh damn, like everyone will look at me like, what's wrong with this bitch? And I'm like, okay, take it back. Or it's that, I guess when it comes down to thinking about like growth, it's all down to perspective.
For sure.
How much can someone perceive their reality? Why are they getting offended? Is it because they're afraid of growth? They're afraid of changing their vocabulary? Or Is it something that comes down to like childhood and that fear of being judged, and they just like stay comfortable where they're at? And
True.
and I think I see that to an extent with a lot of individuals, whether professional or not. Some people are just really stuck in their ways.
For sure.
You know?
I agree. I think there's a lot of people that I've come across where I can see that they want me to stay in a place that I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like I'm the type of person that likes to push myself a lot. And maybe I do it too much to the point where sometimes I can't even chill. But like I like to push myself and like keep trying new things, and even if I fail, like it's scary and like maybe I'll feel stupid, but like at least I did it.
Yeah.
And it's like it says a lot more than the people that are not doing that and talking shit about me. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've just experienced that a lot, and some of it has also made me feel self-conscious at some points in my life, but after this existential crisis, like I'm just starting to like care less. And I don't know if you've gotten to that point too, where you just like don't even care. Like now you're like focused.
Oh, absolutely. I, going back with that, just my 20s, I felt like I want to keep friends and like keep in touch and blah 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 and have these friends forever. And you outgrow people. You literally outgrow people. Like I had so many friends when I was like working different jobs, and oh, these are going to be my friends forever. And then betrayals happen and stuff, and those heartbreaks. And now I'm like, you know what? Fuck a new friend. Like, I'll meet someone, like, I'll give them a chance, but I'm like, not really going to, like, I want to be your friend and get to know you. Be like, all right, cool. Like,
yeah,
you want to be my friend? Maybe, let's see, put them to a test or whatever's. But it's like that chill. Like, I don't care for new friends. I don't care to prove myself to anybody anymore. I'm just more focused on finding me, just like you are.
Sure. I used to hold on to friends too. Like I held on to a lot of friends that were not good for me, and maybe I was the good friend for them, but I it wasn't like it wasn't mutual. And I'm the type of person that does like when your boyfriend breaks up with you or cheats on you, I fucking hate him forever. Like like I'm not that friend that's like, oh, like you should get back with him, or like that wants like you to stay in this position where like it might be bad for you or toxic for you. Like I'm an annoying friend that like maybe says that what you don't want to hear, but it's like to help you, and it's like the truth. And I can say a lot of my friends have done that for me.
Yeah.
You know? Especially a lot of the old people that I like got out of my life. So it's like as you get older, you lose friends.
Yeah. And it's for the better.
And you stop caring about having so many friends.
Yeah.
And you're just like more comfortable with like doing your own thing, and maybe that means like you have less people in your circle, but it also like kind of refines the people in your circle, because it's like now you're like shaping your friends to be like quality friends now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I feel like I've let go of a lot of friendships, and I don't think a lot of people talk about how like it's like a relationship.
Yeah, no, it really does. Like you go through that whole heartbreak, you see the pictures, and you're like, oh, those are good times, and then the rage comes in right after. Like, actually, fuck that bitch. Like,
yeah, right.
I wonder how long were you hating? That's the part that hurts. For because you think you love someone and you think you know them, and then that moment of truth where everything falls apart and they're no longer in your life, it makes you reevaluate, like, oh shit, like were they really a friend the whole time, or were they just kind of like waiting for my downfall? And for some cases it was, and for other cases I analyzed it in the sense that our whole life is a book, right? Well, I like to read, so I think like every chapter has its purpose. Some are just a quick 2 fucking pages. Sorry for the cussing. You can sort of edit it out.
I don't edit it out.
So some are some people make it through every chapter. Some people are part of the whole book. Some people are just a quick sentence, and that's okay, because we need all those characters in our life to build us ultimately, you know, when we're writing our story.
Yeah.
And in the end, I don't think I ever regret any friend that I've ever had or any person that's done me wrong. I don't wish anyone before. Younger me was like, fuck that bitch, and I'd hold all these anger and like resentment and like, oh my god, I never want to see that person. But I think that's where I grew, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When I started seeing things like, instead of being so bitter and angry, I was like, well, what did this teach me? Like, what did I learn from this? And it made me decipher who I want to spend my time with moving forward. And if I meet someone new and they have similar traits or characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
and like red flags, you know, red or green flags
Of friendships.
yeah, friendships,
sure.
yeah. And you're like, yeah, this girl's kind of reminded me so much of that other girl, and I don't think I'm gonna fuck with that. So I think that's development,
growth.
personal development. Yeah, it's growth. Yeah, it really is.
Because now you're like starting to, you have like the experience of what other people did, and like you're seeing like similar behaviors, and you're like, I don't want to waste my time with that anymore.
And you know, some people don't analyze life that way.
For sure.
And it brings me down to something I was reading, and maybe it was a podcast I don't know, something, but it's that, I don't know if you've heard it before, but the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right?
Oh, shit. I didn't know.
So that's the definition of insanity. And I feel that a lot of people get caught in their life and they don't grow or like move on because they keep doing the same thing. Relationships with couples and friends, like you keep yourself in that insane circle of like attracting the same person over and over, and you don't learn. And you just like, you know those, you have, I'm pretty sure you've had that one homegirl, I've known about that one girl that's always been in toxic relationships, and you're like, you think you would learn, but they don't, you know? And
sure. It used to be me too.
No, I speak from personal experience, and when I say homegirl, it's me. Yeah, you're like,
I'm like, it was me. I was the person that was like always in toxic relationships and was like repeating the same shit, finding the same man, same type of man.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, at some point in my life, I really had to reflect, because I was like, at first I was like feeling bad for myself. I was like, why does this keep happening to me? Like, I'm so unlucky, and like almost like victimizing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really had to just stop and be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Like, maybe I'm looking for a certain type of man, and I should not be looking for a certain type of man. Or maybe I should be recognizing certain behaviors that these type of men are doing, so that way I prevent myself from getting hurt, because I don't think I should be attracted to certain types of men anymore, you know?
Or I'm gonna play the devil's advocate real quick.
Tell me.
Or for my perspective was like, oh, well, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
How am I presenting myself? How am I coming
True.
off? You know, what am I doing
There's, like,
that I'm
so
attracting
many
these guys?
that
Yeah,
you could be looking at, for sure.
yeah. And I think, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because no one's I'm never gonna be perfect, but
Yeah.
I have noticed that you know, from high school, middle school, I'd always have boyfriends, always been in relationships, and all of a sudden, like, you know, when I reflect, I was like, oh my god, they're all kind of the same, all kind of did the same.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
did this made me feel some type of way. And it wasn't until I actually like was completely single for the past 2 years of my life
Mm-hmm.
that I've actually like took some time to reflect. And it's like, well, if I'm like looking at A, B, and Z, or C, whatever, I don't know, A through Z, and they all have similar things, and I'm like blaming them, like, oh, fuck them, like,
Yeah.
them. It's like, no, girl, what was I doing?
Yeah.
How was I presenting myself? What was I allowing? What was I not allowing? And it came down to, well, how much did I really love myself?
Yeah.
Why did I allow myself to stay in these situations for so long?
True. So true. Yeah. And I think over time, I started looking for different types of men and looking for different types of qualities in men. And, you know, it took me a while to get to the point where I'm at now. And I think I'm in a very healthy relationship. And Jesse and I just like are very compatible, and we just have that like chemistry with each other. So it just like works the way it does. But it took me a long time to find him, even though I've known him since I was young.
Yeah.
And it took both of us just like growing to like come back to each other and like grow together.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool how that worked out. And I'm really happy for myself.
I'm happy for you too.
I'm like really proud of myself. I'm really proud of him. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks.
Just like I'm proud of people that recognize their growth and want to keep growing. And it's important because like why would you want to stay the same? Why wouldn't you want to change and like be a better version of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So that like always comes to mind when I get reminded of just like who I used to be, because sometimes there are those people that will just remind you of who you used to be just to put you down, and it's like it's exhausting because at some point you need to be like, do you give a fuck to explain to this person that you're not that person, or do you just want to move on and like, you know, recognize that maybe these people aren't your friends, or maybe these people aren't good people to be around.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, I feel like I'm getting older now. This is growth. Now all of my parents saying come to me. Yeah, like in Spanish, my mom always says, que haya un pendejo, hay que haya dos, mejor que no más haya uno, you know? And it translates to like, instead of there being two idiots, let there be one. And, you know, when you said, oh, should we stop and explain? It's like, I'm okay with them having that perception of me in their head. Good for you. And like you said, cut them off.
Yeah.
We don't need to continue to associate. We need to explain ourselves. You stay where you are, boo-boo, and I'm going to move along and just fuck with people who fuck with me now, you know?
That's for sure me, like, this year, too. Just realizing that maybe I over-explain myself to people. And that's been, like, a really, like, that was me acknowledging that I do that a lot, and I just over-explain when I don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to realize that if people want to get me, they will get me.
Yeah.
However I say it. And that doesn't mean to not be accountable for some things that I say, but, like, if they get me, they get me, and if they don't, then they don't, and I'm not going to waste my energy explaining who I am if you don't know that right now.
Yeah. You know? And it also kind of, like, makes you weave out, because if they're willing to fight you and challenge you, then, bitch, you don't like me, and period. Right? I'm cool. I don't want to be around you, you know? So I think, I mean, that's what I perceive of what you just said. It's like,
sure. That is exactly
it'll show you, like, who really does fuck with you and who's really just trying to pick a bone with you
because they just don't like you. And that's another thing, is that like not everyone's going to like you,
and that's okay,
and that's perfectly fine. And I've accepted that I'm like an acquired taste type of person. Like I'm not a people pleaser, so I don't really like, not everybody likes me, and that's always been the case for a lot of my life. Also because I'm not very like I'm not very loud, so it's like it's really just like you like me or you don't. It's like, or you're taking the time to hear me and like my sarcasm, or you're not and you're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And that's just been very eye-opening for me too.
Or sometimes, you know, there's that spectrum, and I've also come to like realize as I've gotten older, life is yin and yang. Everything has a balance. Like, as much as good of a person you want to be, there's also going to be bad of people out there, no matter how good you are. Like, every day you can be the most perfect fucking driver and there's the most reckless, and it's just a balance of both. And it's like heaven and hell. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be a good person, bad person? Do you want to go to heaven? Do you want to go to hell? Or do you want to just stay in between?
Yeah, another thing that was important for me, I keep saying this year, and it might be like
this was your breakthrough. Why not?
This is your breakthrough year. My therapist told me to write down my values, and like values are really important because you start to see who you are, and you start to see like that you can change, but you can still hold on to your values, and like that's true to who you are. And maybe your values change over time, but like for one is like honesty. Like I want to be an honest person, and that's always been a value of mine since I was young, that I just want to, obviously I lie sometimes, but like I want to be honest with people, and I don't want to bullshit people. And that's just like a value I've held on to for a long time. Do you know any of your values, or have you taken the time to like think about those?
Absolutely. I'm a person of like integrity and being impeccable to your word. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, because I hate when people don't follow through with their word with me. So do unto others as you would like them to do
That's
unto you,
one.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's who those are the two things that I'm always like, this is who I am, impeccable and integrity, because that's my values.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can think of more, but I'm
Those are
kind of
good.
blanking right now.
Those are good. I definitely align with those too, because for me, I feel like there are not enough reliable people. There's not enough reliable people or honest people. There will be people that'll just straight up lie to your face and like not give a fuck how that affects you. There will also be people that'll say, "Oh, I'll meet up with you next week. I'll do this and that with you. We're gonna do this and that together," and then you believe them, and because you take them for their word, you respect them, and they don't follow through, and they just kind of like bullshit you, and it's like, I totally align with that, with what you're saying, because I've had a lot of friends and family members that will do that, and it's like, okay, now I know not to take it personally, but now I know that I'm not going to put my energy into it anymore, you know?
Yeah, cut them off. And to me, that's kind of crazy sometimes. Like, that made me, it sparked a thought in me when I reflect on some people that I've known. It's like, how do you live your whole fucking life lying to people, living a lie, using people, abusing of people, and you're just comfortable?
Yeah.
And it comes down to who's evil and who's good. And maybe in their head, they don't think they're doing bad, or maybe, I don't know. I wish sometimes I could pick like their brain and see what the fuck they're thinking, because it's like, how do you go around life just fucking lying, making up shit, or like using people, it's just, to me, I wouldn't do it, but we see it, you know. We've seen it.
Yeah. Definitely. I guess I'll just share this, because I had a friendship that I've known her since I was 4 years old, and it was like constant lying, to the point where like she didn't realize that everybody knew she was lying about shit. And like even like her friends would become friends with me and then be like, dude, why is she always lying? And I'm like, I don't know why she's always fucking lying.
That's scary.
It's scary, because, but I also had like some sort of like empathy for it, because I knew the backstory of it and why she was kind of like that. And a lot of it had to do with like her mom never being satisfied with anything she ever did, like as a kid, as a teenager. Like her mom was always just like controlling and just like never happy with her, and her mom was always comparing her to me or to other people. And it's like, her mom was strict, her mom didn't let her go out and do things, so she always had to lie. And then it's like, that's crazy how like when you're young and you pick up these habits, it like carries on until like later in life, unless you break that cycle.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that makes me think a lot of people can't recognize it because they're in survival mode, because of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh, everybody throws childhood trauma out there. It's like, no,
that's just real.
It's real. It's so real. Like, everything that happens in our childhood does progress and transpire into our adulthood.
For sure.
And you find yourself like, why am I this way? Some people don't ever recognize it, and they'll just be in that little old self mindset. I don't know if that sounds right, but
just keep going.
Yeah. No, they just like keep that like survival like mode, because that's all they know, because they never really or maybe someone never really brought it up to their intention and they just never realized it because that's just their character, but out of
that's true.
Out of the environment that they grew up in.
It's survival mode.
Survival, yeah. And how do we fix it? Do we blame them? Should we be empathetic? Should we have a little compassion?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think after a certain point, if you point it out or enough people point it out to you, it's up to that person to take a step back and be like, okay, I need to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is up to some of your friends or people that love you to, like, you know, hold a mirror to your face, but only for so long.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's your responsibility. That's like if you care enough to keep other people around that are important to you.
Yeah.
To make those changes and to be better. Because for me, like, this might be too much information, but like I realized I was also very toxic because I'm not perfect, which is weird. I thought
oh my god, I thought you were perfect.
I
What's
know,
going on?
right?
Should I leave? I'm just kidding.
So I realized I was like, and there's probably a bunch of other examples I could give, but like there was this example that I noticed and I fucking caught myself being like toxica and just like, oh shit, I need to take a step back. Jesse and I were arguing. This was like probably a couple of years ago. Or maybe a year or two. I don't know how long. It was a minute. And we were arguing and he walks away and he's like, I need to go to the other room. And I was just like, that's annoying. And I was just like, fine, go. He goes and then he falls asleep. And that like pissed me off. That pissed me off so much. And I didn't know he was sleeping because I was in the other room. And I was like, okay, it's been like 20 minutes and like he hasn't fucking come back and I'm still mad. And so I get up and I go and he's sleeping in the room. And I'm just like, no, this is not okay. And so I start slamming shit and he doesn't wake up. And then I fucking, with all of like my might, I just fucking slammed the door to as loud as I could. And I just fucking walked out. And then I sat on the couch in the other room. And I was like waiting for him. I was waiting for him to come out of the bedroom and be fucking mad and fucking tell me what the fuck's my problem and just yell at me and just like, give it to me. And I was just like sitting there and like waiting for it. And then he walks out of the room and he's just like waking up and he's like, hey, like, what's going on? Why are you slamming the door? And then I was like so mad because he didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting it. And then it made me feel fucking crazy because I was like, oh shit.
Am I the problem?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh man, like that caught me like in surprise. And I played it off. He still doesn't even know about this shit.
But now he does.
But now he does too. But that was like a moment for me where like I was like, okay, like, yeah, I have some like toxic traits that I need to work on because like I'm expecting that because possibly my parents that were always arguing and slamming the door and just like, you know, instilling what's supposed to happen after you slam a door,
mm-hmm.
like I was expecting that. And it's like now I need to unlearn that.
Absolutely.
And grow from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You caught yourself. You're like, wait, this is too familiar. Like,
yeah,
you've seen it. This is something that you carried on from childhood, and it's, you know, now in your relationship because that's what you knew growing up.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if he really loves me, he's gonna come argue back.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for him. And he triggered that in you. But also, like, turn that light bulb on to be like, wait, this isn't normal. Like, it shouldn't be this way. And that was your little moment of like, shit, I don't want to be this person. I shouldn't be this person. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me?
And I haven't slammed a door since. But, like, I know there's still, like, toxic traits that I have that, like, carry on. And I just try to be as aware as possible. And that's annoying and draining on its own. Like,
yeah, because it takes self-evaluation and work to change that. And a lot of people, like Kim Kardashian says, get to work. Not a lot of people like to work, you know? And as funny as it sounds, it's true. A lot of people don't want to work. A lot of people just are comfortable, complacent, and they're okay with that. And that's fine. I think I don't hate on them that much because, okay, cool. Sometimes we need some people to just be like that. But for me, I want more. And if me getting more is going to be more work and self-work, you know, working on myself, then I'm going to put in the work. But if you're not willing to change who you are now to be where you want to be, then you're going to stay where you are.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just I lost my train of thought. Say what you were saying.
Self-evaluation, you know.
Self-evaluation, for sure. Okay, great. Thank you. So what I was going to say is that, yeah, this year I had to like take a look at myself and be like, who the fuck am I? And then also be like, what the fuck am I doing? And then also be like, yeah, you're not perfect. You need to like keep working on yourself. Like, you need to keep growing and, you know, also just like let go of shit.
Yeah.
That was like a huge one for me, is like just letting go of shit. Like, somebody wronged you, somebody did some shit like that hurt you, move on. Like, move on. And another thing, one of my therapists has told me, one of my old therapists, he has told me that it makes more sense to just find new friends than it does to mend friendships that are very one-sided. So if you like, because being in a friendship is like a relationship. It takes two people to be in that friendship. And if somebody's not pulling through and you are, then they're not going to really make the time or take the effort to like be a better friend unless they care. Yeah. And most people that are shitty like won't do that anyway. So it makes more sense to just like, you know, cut your losses. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, it's been a lot of reflecting for me, and that was kind of scary. I didn't like the reflecting part of it, because I got to see like, fuck, like, what am I doing and who am I like trying to be? So I think, yeah, for a lot of people, they get comfortable because it is hard to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who are you? Yeah. And like, what are you doing? Yeah. And is this the person you want to be? Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's the past few years, I think when I turned 30, things started hitting hard, you know? Way better. I was like, well, I've done this for so long and hung out with these people for so long, and I'm tired of fucking feeling like the victim, or like, oh, this person did me wrong. And it's like, well, what am I doing? Yeah. And do I want to continue being that person? And well, who do I want to be? And I think it took a lot in me personally to just be like, all right, cool, let's just fucking start fresh 100%. I kept some good friends and they're there, thank God. Like my best friend Elon Lopez, shout out to that fool. I love him forever. He's been one of like my biggest cheerleaders, and also like the realest of friends. Like he'll be like, bitch, you're fucking up. Like, what are you doing? Like, snap out of it. Yeah. And not other friends, like you said, they want to see you downfall. They don't care for progression, and they just want to be there to take. But he's always been one to be like, well, you've been there before. Like, this looks familiar, huh? Like, what are you doing? And vice versa. I can feel so comfortable with him in that way. And with that growth part, it was like that fear of letting my old self go, and just a good one. I felt a lot of like sadness. I felt like this little depression, because it was like, mourning. Well, yeah, mourning. Like, I can't. That's not me anymore. I don't party like that anymore. I don't want to fucking drink until I black out. I don't want to go hang out at a random bar by myself anymore and like try to make just a friend. Randoms. Yeah, because of that like
loneliness that I thought I was lonely, you know, but it was more of like, well, sit with yourself. Like, why are you running away from yourself? Like, why don't you like yourself enough to sit there and figure out who is she? And when I started evaluating that, like, oh, well, if I want to, you know, I mentioned it to you before, like, I thought to myself, like, well, why not be the mayor? You know, I love LA so much. I want to change it. I hope and I pray that maybe in the future Helen can be the mayor, and that's going to take some work.
Yeah.
Because I want to make a difference. I've always had it in my heart to be like help people, but it's how can I help others if I can't help myself? If I can't take care of me first, how can I take care of the rest of the people? So it's been that ego death, I guess. It's like the death of my ego.
Yeah.
And like being afraid of what's next and just dropping my old habits. It really does come down, like,
So
you know,
true.
where we're talking about sobriety and stuff. It's like I tell myself every fucking year, like, this year I'm not gonna drink, this year I'm not gonna smoke, like I'm gonna let it go.
I was forced to be sober, so I'm not judging people. You can't be sober.
No, and I pray, and I, you know, I hope that maybe in the future could look back and be like, okay, she did it, she made it.
Yeah.
Like, you did it, Charlie, good Charlie.
I mean, when I think about it now, like, I'm not sure if I'm not like religious or anything, but like I do believe in a God or like a creator or something. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I was probably actually forced to be sober, and like it's probably a blessing.
Absolutely.
You know? And like my boyfriend doesn't drink, so I don't like drinking alone, and so now I don't drink. And that's just a result of everything. And I have a lung problem and I can't breathe that well, so I don't smoke. So I'm just like focused on my life.
As much as you didn't want to grow, you were forced to grow.
Yeah, I was forced to. And you're right. Like, I think I experienced the ego death like probably when I was like 28, around that age, where I was just like, I need to stop fucking drinking till I black out, and like partying till super late, and like being around like random ass people that don't care about me, you know. And it was hard for me to. I was almost like forced to like just mourn that person, and like I don't even think I wanted to like do it. I just did it, and it's like it was sad because I was like, now like I'm gonna be, and then also like the universe like also pushed me away from all these people and moved me to a different city, like across fucking town. And like I don't know, it is a blessing, all of it, and that's the perspective I want to be in for now. But I feel like I was forced to do all of it, and it's probably for the best. And I was sad because I was like, oh, like now I'm just gonna be like this boring person that like doesn't party or do anything or have fun. And you know, that really forced me to like learn how to love myself and be like, no, like you're good enough without the drinking and like partying and stuff. Like you're still a fun person, you're still like a cool person without all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't need all those things to make you you.
Or yeah, I don't know, I'm like supportive of people that are like choosing to be sober or want to be sober. Just yeah, because it's painful. It's painful to raw dog life. Like, like I've been doing that for like a couple years now, and it's like painful.
What advice would you give to people trying to be sober? What helps you?
Damn, I don't even know.
I speak for myself because girl, I'm still
we'll
have a beer after this. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, and it's not to say like I don't drink or anything. It's just like that there's no, a lot of the times, like, you know, I also work on the weekends, so it just doesn't make sense for me to do all that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What do I do? I guess go into podcasting or something.
That's one way.
I've been going to therapy a lot. That's been really helpful for me to just like force somebody to like put a mirror in my face and ask me questions that I should be reflecting on. So yeah, that's been helping me. Just staying busy, or like just planning for things. Like we try to make it a thing where we like travel out of the country once a year.
Nice.
So like that's really something that I look forward to. Spending time with my dog and just like eating good food.
Those are good. Those are good distractions. Yeah, and it also makes me think. I guess some sort of advice is set goals, and I don't think a lot of people set goals. And I mean, not to brag or whatever.
Yeah, give me all the advice you have, because I literally should think about and write down like advice that I would give to somebody. Nobody's ever asked me to do that.
I think it's for me personally, I never really wrote down like what do I want to be or what my goals are for the year or what I want to accomplish. And this is the first year in my life that I've accomplished all the goals I wrote down.
Oh, good.
And without knowing, I did it and it felt good. And now that I have that taste of like, well, fuck, like I wrote it down and I could accomplish it. What else can I fucking do?
Yeah.
What, like, I low-key feel a little unstoppable right now or whatever. Nice. You know, like what's next? Like bring it on, world.
Yeah.
And it's, and it also made me think right now that I was sitting here, it's like, I'm 33 right now. My Jesus year, I call it my Jesus year. And
why do you call it that?
Because it's 30. Jesus died at the cross at 33.
Okay.
And he died and came back to life, resurrected.
Ooh.
And it comes down to like that growth and ego death. You know, it's like this whole year I've been like, oh damn, like who do I want to be? And if I want to be this person, like what do I want to let go? And it's the death of the old me.
Yeah.
I'm my Jesus year, you know, like everything I knew myself to be. I can't take that person. I'm gonna take her. Obviously, it's me, but I can't take the same old patterns that I've had with me to the next chapter because I'm gonna get stuck there. Yeah. No, I gotta definitely reinvent myself and the rebirth of Helen. Like who is she? Who can she be next? You know, like what could I accomplish?
That's so cool. I'm excited for you.
And I think if I can give anybody an advice in anything, is believe in yourself. Write it down. Honestly, there's power in manifestation, and I know it sounds corny because everybody's into it right now, but like there's really power in writing it down, and there's
truth to it,
power in speaking things out loud, and just hanging around with the right people. Because I also, you know, realized like I stopped hanging out with certain people and I feel different, and I've like started meeting new people that are in the same wavelength as me, and it's inspiring, you know. Like one of my friends, I've known her for a while, thank God, but she's changed herself too recently, started a nonprofit, shout out Steph. She started a nonprofit, and I remember talking to her about it like last year. We'd be like out drinking, you know, and like we're gonna go hang out, and like we'd be like drunk and like talking. She's like, I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, do it. And like I was encouraging her and everything, and like she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, perfect, like fuck yeah, I got your back, like I'll be there. And she went through with it, and now she's running a nonprofit. She had her first like successful event in Placito Olvera, like giving back and like getting tongue tied, integrating herself with individuals that think the same as her. Like she's not hanging out with our old friends that we had that we're just like partying with. Like she's hanging out and like talking to people that want to do what she wants to do now, and it flourished. And she like tells me all the time, she's like, oh my God, Helen, like everything's happening so fast, like I don't get it. I'm like, I think this is how life happens. Like when you're ready to just like, without you consciously knowing, you're throwing it out there what you want, and it'll just come right at you, and you got to be ready to roll with the punches. And it reminded me of like, you know, when I entered in, it was like, I've been wanting to move out forever, and I was like, oh, this isn't gonna happen, like I'm not gonna move out. And then 1 week before I had to move in, it's like, oh, are you gonna move in? Like here's the lease. Oh fuck it, let's fucking go, you know. And it felt so good. And just from here, it's like motivational. So I think it's not having fear that can drive someone to be better, because people are afraid. Afraid of themselves, afraid of what they can accomplish, afraid of who they can be. and afraid of their comfort zone. And that's why I think some people stay stagnant and don't grow, because they're just comfortable and they're scared. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's good advice. That's good advice. I wish I would have. I'm like the person that always gives like unsolicited advice, but like today I was just like not ready for that question. Yeah, just be a better person and grow and move on. And it's okay to not be who you were. And, you know, you don't want to be who you used to be anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the person you were 10 years ago. So be better.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid and accept and embrace change. Change is important. Do you have any like last things you want to say? Do you want to do shout outs? Do you want to like put your Instagram handle and things?
I'm excited for the new year. I'm a very spiritual person, and I just want to say let's be better as a whole, you know? Let's not be afraid, and reach out for help if you need it, because I feel a lot of people feel like they're alone or they won't, but you can find help where you least expect it.
True.
And once you admit to yourself that you need help in whatever way, it doesn't mean that you have to be a junkie or like in distress or whatever. It's like, if you just need help, advice or anything, just ask.
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive. And that's where I will leave it.
Good. That's good advice. Thank you for taking the time to help me do production and everything.
It's been a pleasure.
It took us like a long ass time. I wish we could have talked longer, but I hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you so much.
All right, so we'll close out here.
Bye.